Ladies and gentlemen, today is July 24th, 2013, and this is the KNKL Show! Episode 20, episode 20, where did that even come from? 91! Continued! I'm your host, Kienan Lafferty, and today we are going to try to not blow the mic out so I sound like some crazy chitter-chattering alien, but we are going to be jumping back into working on the comic book cover, right? And for those of you who've been following Twitter and Facebook and all that good stuff, social media connections, you would know that we are going to be choosing between 3 different covers tonight. And yeah, but before we get into that, again, I'm getting way too ahead of myself. There's a couple things that we need to take care of. A couple announcements that we need to make. One of which, I really like to feature, since this is technically a KNKL show. We go down the lovely lane, and I have been wanting to show this awesome piece by Mark Aurelio, which is a tourist robot in a foreign land. And I've been telling him that I've been wanting to show it, right, but I keep missing it. So this is for you, Mark. I have now shown it, and my debt has been paid in full. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the donators. Thank you to everyone who has been donating this month, keeping the show up and running, and just reading the Emma comic in general. That is all I will ever ask. But if you want to shoot me a couple extra bucks to buy some tacos at Del Taco, I will never say no. So thank you very much. People on YouTube, you can click the link below, and I'll put your name on that list. Lastly, for those of you who have not gotten your limited Emma prints, there are only 90 of these ever going to be printed in the world. So if you haven't gotten one yet, you really like the comic, you want to get yourself a cool little poster board here, signed, and it has the cool little golden sticker on it. Just go ahead and head over to the store and buy it. All right, guys, that's enough of me plugging my own stuff. Let's go ahead and jump into what we're going to do today. All right, guys, so really quickly, before we go forward with this, I'm going to show you the choices once again. This is number 1 here. Number 1. Remember, people who want number 1, remember, this is that. Number 2, it's Tank. The back of Tank facing some zombies. Interesting. A collage of some sorts. I do like this one. Actually, let me talk a little bit about the pros and cons of each one. And then while I'm doing this, I'm also going to show you a time lapse, remember, because we're covering the entire process of how I go from the beginning sketches to the final product, because a lot of you have been asking me to do that, and I really want to deliver that to you. Okay, but let's go over the pros and cons of this, and keep your vote in mind, because you're going to be typing it into the chat to the right when the time comes. All right, so the first one, I'm really liking this because it has all of the, it has like the biker dudes up front. We get to have like this cool tire right here. You get to have some cool detail shots. And then we kind of go to this kind of face collage. It's kind of like a movie poster type thing. I usually try to stay away from cliche stuff like this, but I don't know. It's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And people do it for a reason, right? Because it actually is very appealing, and it just, it adds an extra element of size difference, right? It's just cool to see that contrast there. And then you got the upside down zombies on the top, of course, so that's really, really cool. I really like that. However, the cons, I would say, is that there's no Nico in it, right? Nico's a big part of the story, and this is kind of where he gets introduced. Of course, I mean, he'll be a big part of the later stories on and all that stuff, so there'll be plenty of more chances for Nico to be on the cover of the comic. Moving on to number 2. I really like this one because I feel like, just like I was saying before, Nico is going to be a big integral part of the comic, right? And Tank and the pirates, you know, they're really cool once you introduce them, but very quickly they're supposed to be supporting characters, so they might fall by the wayside, or they might, you know, they're not going to be on the cover all the time, right? So this might be Tank's big chance to get the spotlight, even though it is just his back, but that's because he's a badass and he doesn't show his face. All right, number 3. This is basically kind of the straightforward, what you'd expect type of thing. And this has to do with the splitting of the worlds between Emma and Nico. And so on this side, you'll see Nico, and he's acting all tough. You know, it's almost like, I thought when I was drawing this, it's like Emma's fantasy, right, on the right, or on the left, and Nico's fantasy on the right, right? Because he thinks he's like big and tough, right? But he's actually like the scrawny little dude that gets pushed around, right? So he's standing there looking all heroic and stuff. And Emma's kind of like sitting down. She's holding like a flower, and there's like sunflowers on this side. And over here, that's supposed to be like a zombie hand. So I really like this. However, like I said, the only con that I could say about this is that we're not going to have many chances to put the biker dudes or Tank or any Clem or any of those guys. Clem's not on this. We should have done another one with Clem on it. But yeah, there might not be a big chance for the supporting characters to get on the front cover. So with all that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the time lapse of what I worked on today. And then we're going to go ahead and cast our votes. So actually, I'm going to open up voting right now. Voting right now starts now. So please type in 1, 2, or 3, which one you'd like to see. And then I'll just very quickly glance at the chat. There's probably a better way that I could do this. I probably should set up like a poll or something on the forum next time I do this. But it's the first time for everything, and we'll make our mistakes now. Let's go ahead and jump into the time lapse so you can see what I was talking about. Okay, so this right here, that one all the way on the left, that was actually an idea. It's supposed to be a motorcycle. Actually, I'll just keep this plain. It's supposed to be a motorcycle like driving up the page, right? And I got that idea after I looked at the Super 8 movie poster. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it's basically like the horizon line. It's just tilted to the side, and the silhouettes of the characters are standing there. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And that would be a way for me to get the entire motorbike in the shot, right? So, but yeah, I ended up not really liking it too much. So now we're moving into the refinement of the tank, refinement of Tank's back composition. And you can see I'm just kind of throwing in the zombies, throwing in, just kind of figuring out how the composition and the compilation is going to work. I like these comp words. Anything that starts with a comp is a good thing to throw into that sentence. I like that. Then I thought, okay, well, I really want to have a shot with, I'm going to pause it right here really quick. I was like, well, what about the bikes? You know, the motorcycles and the bikes are like a big part of this. And I had this vision of being able to draw like a really detailed version of one of the bikes, like whether it's Nico's or Tank's. I'd really like that. But yeah, I just felt like, and this one was like a blood splatter with like bikes flying out of it, you know what I'm saying? So that was kind of interesting. But again, I don't think it really worked out too well. Because it's just like, I'm really thinking about the guy picking this thing up in the comic store. It's like, okay, he sees a bike. What is this comic about? He sees a bike with some zombie blood on it. But what are the characters, right? What's the style of the comic? He might think it's like an American comic, and he opens it up, and it's like kind of anime themed, and he might hate it. So I want people that look at this comic in the store to know exactly what they're going to get, right, when they pick it up and be like, okay, this comic is anime themed, right? It has zombies in it. It has biker pirate dudes in it. And yeah, that's really cool. And he opens it, and that's exactly what he gets. So you are priming your viewers' expectations before they even open it, right? So moving on. So this is going into refinement of number 1, I believe. Yes, this is number 1. This is when I decided to put in that profile of Tank because I think he looks really cool in profile. I think that, yeah, that's Tank's good side, right? His good side is any profile of himself. And originally I had the idea to make Jimmy in there too. But later on I decided, you know, it's not really, Jimmy's a real supporting dude, and it's a shame that he gets his head butted in, right, and gets his head exploded by Tank's helmet. But, you know, it's really not, it's not Jimmy's comic. You know, Jimmy's cool, but he's designed to be there as the side character. He's a supporting character. And people can like him all he wants, but he's not meant to go on the front cover. So, moving on from here, I decided I really liked Emma's face back there too, because Emma, again, this is really important that, I don't know, I feel that something just needs to show that this is an anime-themed comic. So I decided by throwing Emma in there, it would really, really help, right? It always helps to show your main character. This is another one that I didn't quite like it. You see this one right here? These are kind of like sitting in like a fetal position, right? And then there's like zombie hands and flowers growing all around her. And then the bikers would be back here too. And I think it would be an interesting composition, but again, it just wasn't enough, right? It didn't really say enough. It didn't say what was going to happen inside the comic. So I decided to go ahead and scratch that one. And now very quickly, you'll see me moving into what number 3 is about to be. This is with Emma and Nico, and just the composition working out with them. I think this is really cool. Do you guys like watching this? I think this is really cool. Like, I just work throughout the day and be like, this is what I got done. Like, you guys are my boss out there, and then this is me like catching up with you, being like, yes, yes, I am your humble servant, and this is what I have created for you today. This is my submission. This is my submission. So, yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this. This is actually really, really cool. And, yeah, you can see there I was actually planning on maybe putting Tank or one of the bikers in the background, but I just felt like, you know, it just wasn't working with it. So I just decided to ditch that whole idea and do zombies on the right side and flowers on the left. And sort of think of it as like the dividing line between these two realities. Because again, I'm really trying to push this here. I think that some people, I hope that some people don't get confused with that, knowing that Emma has like this, alternate reality, or she's kind of like got this schizo thing going on, whatever it is, two personalities or split personality thing going on. But I'm hoping to kind of show this here. So yeah, let's see what we do here. Oh yeah, it's just me numbering them, and then I throw them really quickly onto a template. And oh, I think I actually do some more refinement of tanks thing too. Oh yeah, I do some more refinement on tanks thing. So we'll jump back into this. And yeah, we got about 10 seconds, and then we're done, I think. Or wait. Oh no, this is the last one. This is it. We got a minute to go, and then we will call the voting close. So if you have not casted your vote, cast it now, or forever hold your peace. I'm going to start counting over here. I'm going to actually make a quick tally thing over here. Because this is like ghetto poll right here. Ghetto poll. Alright guys, so here comes the counting. Here comes the counting right now. 1 for 1, 1 for 2, 1 for 3. Another 1 for 1. Another 1 for 1. 1. Wow. So one is kicking butt right now. So if you guys want to see any of these other ones, speak now. Forever hold your peace. And let's see. It looks like it's shaping up to be number 1. Looks like it's shaping up to be number 1. Oh yeah, but you can see I did some refinement on number 3 as well. So yeah, this is basically it, guys. Let me go ahead and take my fat face away for just a second. So yeah, this is it. This is it. Oh, someone changed their vote. Someone changed their vote. Oh, oh, people voting. Oh, people typing out 1 and 3. Oh, dang, that's gonna make things confusing. I gotta go back through here really quick. All right. Okay, so we got another one for number 3. All right, guys. Well, it looks like the people have spoken, and that is the wrong camera. The people have spoken, and we're gonna be doing number 1. Yes, that is right, ladies and gentlemen. We are gonna be doing number 1, and that is gonna be our awesome 80s movie poster. And why can't I'm trying to zoom in on the video. That's awesome. That's freaking genius. We are going to be doing number 1, and then these things are going to be available in the collector's edition. Don't you worry about that. The collector's digital edition will have those sketches. So, but we are going to be moving forward with number 1, which is actually, I think the best choice, right? The best choice. And I'm glad that you guys felt the same way too, because I was really, really excited to draw these detailed bikes, right? These detailed bikes, and I just really like the composition, the flow, and all that good stuff. So, no more voting, no more voting, no more. I will not pay attention to you anymore. We are going forward with 1. We have made a decision. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and pull this up. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Pool our efforts. We have pulled our efforts. Now we're going to go ahead and start refining. All right. So from this point, the next step in my process is to simply, I'm going to enlarge this a little bit. Large! Simply enlarge this a tad. Not all the way though. For some reason I don't like to really fully enlarge it. I'll start. Well, do I? Do I? I don't know. Maybe I'm feeling a little frisky today. Maybe we will. Because I'm trying to figure out exactly what point of the process this is. what we're doing here. Okay. So yeah, I'm actually really liking that. I'm liking that a lot. Okay, guys, so now what we're going to do is we're going to lighten this background a little bit. We're going to just turn down the opacity, right? And maybe I should, I'm sure you guys, if you guys know how to use Photoshop, you know how to use opacity. Usually I shrink down my window so everything is showing, like all the tools and everything. But I'm sure if I just describe it to you, you guys should be okay. I hope that you're okay. Because if not, then you should probably go watch some more simple tutorials about how to work Photoshop and use opacity before you come watching these. All right, so let's go ahead and make a new layer, and we're going to call this sketch. Sketch number 2. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. Today's July 24th, which is Pioneer Day here in Utah, right? The day that all the people they went from the east and migrated west and settled here. The pioneers settled here in Utah, and yeah, this is the day that we celebrate. So you're probably going to be hearing some fireworks going off in the background. Don't worry, it's not gunshots. I'm not living in LA anymore. We're free from that. It's just fireworks. It's just good things, happy things here in Utah. Happy little Mormon things. All right, so let's go ahead and begin the sketching. Okay, so what I'm doing in this stage here is I'm taking all of these sketches, obviously, right? Taking the previous sketch, and now what I'm going to do is really start defining what we're going to be seeing here. And a lot of what this has to do with is using the rules, right? Bringing the rules to the forefront and just really mapping out what these characters are going to be doing. Okay? And oftentimes, like I've said it before, with these sketches that I've drawn in, I actually end up following them pretty dang closely. Pretty dang closely. Because, I don't know, I really feel like there's a lot captured in the beginning. Like when I'm using that chalk brush, there's a lot of texture and stuff going on there. And it just captures a lot of character and emotion. But it always helps to go back in and make sure that everything is lining up. All the rules of how you measure out your characters are still working properly. In fact, I think this is why I decided to make this smaller. That way I can make sure that their heads are not too big. So we're making that a little bit smaller. So we have room to work with outside of the canvas, because that is very important. Right? Sometimes it's good to draw a little bit more of the character's head outside, you know what I mean? So that way it just doesn't look weird. So we're going straight through the middle here. The ellipse comes right down through there. So therefore, actually wait, I'm going to be going a little bit more this way. And I need to get the render brush. My render! Okay, the ellipse goes right through here. And then just below that will be her eyes. Okay, so this looks like it's lining up pretty well. Sometimes I just kind of like set the measurements so that way her eyes can stay in a similar place to where I've sketched them. More often than not. But yeah, I think I'm going to lighten this up a little bit too. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead, and the second ellipse comes right at the half of the halfway point, right? So her eyes are going to be right about there. Pretty much right about where the other ones were. And you can see I'm really messy at this stage. Really super messy. Ugly messy. It's good. It really is good. Drawn, laying down guidelines, being as messy as I freaking wow. Love it. So that's pretty good. Like that. Good. Good. What are you guys saying over here? What are you guys saying over here? People are saying the fireworks sound like popcorn. Yes. Yes, they will sound like popcorn and gunshots sometimes. Just depends on which one you're doing. Alright, so let's go ahead and draw up the eyes. Emma's eyes go right up like that. Good. You want to make sure you don't put them too close together, but then also not too far apart. The way I measure it is just kind of thinking about her mouth at rest the edges will go right up to the eyes, right? So if her mouth was like that, the edge of that would go right up to the eye. But she's not doing that face this time. She's doing the cute little, slightly open anime mouth. And it's funny because I'll go back in and like draw like minuscule things, like just until they get the right consistency, until they take the right shape. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really, really picky with my stuff oftentimes. In fact, I'm going to pull up Emma's face right here. I always like to look at this and make sure that, you know, that face right there is translating to whatever I'm drawing, because that is Emma's face right there. I want to make sure that we are consistent. Consistent. Yes. Yes. Very good. What do you guys, what you say, what you say. Okay. So, and then this line, or this eye, if you follow this line right up, oh, let me move this over. I think I wasn't working on anything important. Jeez. Okay, this line goes right up and it connects to her forehead, right? And that line comes right on down to this line right there. That forms her ear. So her ear is actually going to be off the screen, so I don't need to worry too much about that. But it is good to know that we're following the rules of the road. Well, this is good. It actually is it's a little daunting. I've said it before, working at this stage when it's like the creative part and really just like laying down what you're going to see at the final part is very, very daunting to a lot of artists. And it still is a little bit scary to me too, because I always used to hate it when people would watch me work. You know, I don't like people looking over my shoulder as I'm drawing. But I really just want to get over it. You know what I mean? I really wanted to get over that fear and that, you know, it's like I'm always afraid that they're going to be like, oh, ha, you messed up, or huh, that looks stupid, you suck, you know? I'm always afraid of people doing stuff like that. But it's like, even if they do, it's like, dude, it's not about what it looks like as I'm drawing it. What matters is how it's going to be finished. So, you know, it's like people can say all that stuff and just, you know, just say stupid stuff, give stupid feedback at the wrong time, but it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter at that point. Nothing matters. The best thing that you can do is just shut up and keep working. All right, Jace. All right, so there we go. Oh, look at that cute little Emma face. It's so precious. Okay, that's good. Let's go ahead and throw in her little blush lines. Eyes are looking a little bit big. I want to fix that. Another interesting thing is that I kind of like a little bit of experimentation with the style in the cover, because I don't know, there's something about it. Like, I don't like it when the cover of a comic looks absolutely amazing and then you open it up and it's like, wait, who the heck drew this stuff? Why didn't it look like the stuff on the cover? But I like it when it's just like slightly different. You know what I mean? Like, there's the comic artist and then the cover artist. I think that's really cool. So a little bit of experimentation with the style, a little bit of like wiggle room, and kind of just mess around with a couple things is okay in my eyes. I like the fact that I can try a couple new things and kind of express a similar style but just in a different way on the cover. And or maybe this looks exactly like the comic, I don't know. But I plan on taking this, and it will be in the comic style, but I'm probably going to paint it just a little bit more, right? Probably just going to add a little bit more detail to it, or maybe just a little bit more of a dramatic effect with the lighting or something, you know, with the colors or, you know, whatnot. So, yeah, all that good stuff. All right, I got to pull up my reference of Tank here for his side profile. And one thing that I actually really like about this here is just I guess what I'm doing here is I'm like feeling the shapes that I've laid down prior, right? Like I can see the shapes very, very faintly behind it, but now I'm almost kind of creating just a new layer and just kind of playing off of those shapes. Just a little bit of refinement. Trying to mix a little bit of style in there, right? And another thing that's interesting that I may have been able to do, or actually no, I wouldn't have been able to do it from this point, but what I actually end up doing when I paint pictures is I personally despise doing line art. I hate doing line art, which is why I'm very happy that people have stepped up and said they want to help me with line art for the comic. But I really, really hate doing line art. My personal preference for creating lines is simply to do a couple sketches like this, right? And then I'll just refine that sketch, right? I'll go back in and I'll just kind of erase these edges and I'll just clean up the lines, but I won't do a third layer over top of it and then do the final black lines unless I have to, right? Because of the comic. But the other really cool thing about that is that the brush that I use, and I've talked about this before, is it's this weird little texture brush that looks kind of like Reptar from Rugrats. You see that there? And what's really cool about this brush is that it works in such a way that it has like this natural texture to it. So that way, when you do lines, if it has like little flyaways or just like little areas of imperfection, it kind of adds to it, right? It adds to the feeling and it adds to the, I don't know, just the character of the comic. And you don't have to be as neat as opposed to using this type of ink brush where it's perfect, you know what I mean? And you know, you have to like draw that and then it has like, it shows all the imperfections. You know, you do one of those and it looks ugly, right? But with the other one, it has that natural texture to it. So it just looks really cool. So anyway, let's go ahead and continue with this. There's something very scary happening downstairs on the TV right now. I think somebody's watching America's Got Talent and there's a child screaming. And I don't want to hear that. Oh, all right. What are you guys saying over here? People are saying over here, whenever people are looking at me sketching, I stop. Yes, that's exactly what I do too. That's exactly what I do too. I get all freaked out. I'm like, what are you doing? You watching me? Turn around. Get all ticked off, right? All right, so let's go ahead and throw in Tank's eyebrows, right? It's manly, manly eyebrows, and we're using that ugly ink brush. I don't want to see that thing ever again in my life. The only time I'm using that, that's my mask brush. Unless I'm masking something, I never even look at that brush. I don't even acknowledge its existence as I speak with the most amazing enunciation. All right, so we got Tank's thing coming in here, and this was kind of bugging me. Like this little tangent with Tank, like the sharp point of Tank's helmet is like poking Emma in the eye. I was thinking about maybe moving her head down a little bit. But let's go ahead and just finish this really quick. Let's finish the sketch, and then we'll go back to it. Okay? Nothing too crazy right now. But I love the way Tank's eye came out right here. Like even just in the sketch, looks so cool. So, so cool. And more fireworks. More fireworks. Yeah! I love Tank. I think Tank is just like one of the coolest characters. Me and David actually concepted him. It was actually more so David telling me what to draw. You know, we were looking at stuff like Sons of Anarchy and trying to figure out what a really cool badass biker leader would look like. And we worked together and he kind of just helped me pinpoint a look for him. And I thought that, you know, as soon as I drew it, as soon as it was finished, like we played around with all kinds of different hairstyles and facial hair and scar types, you know, because he's got that scar going on. It's the ultimate mark of the badass. Gotta have a scar. But we were playing around with all those things, and as soon as we finished it, as soon as we had like the finished look of it, we pretty much knew which one it was going to be, right? We knew which one it was going to be right when it was done. So, oh man, my nose is so itchy. Oh, took care of it. People are talking about bad feedback. People are like, I just hate it when they don't get the vision. I hate it when they don't see the vision. Yes, I can relate with you. As a Oh, scratch my nose again. I can relate with you. I hate it when they just don't see it, right? They don't have the artistic vision. You have to show them, right? That's why sometimes it's good to hold off. Sometimes you want to hold off showing them until you have that vision complete. As I did, right? The thumbnails. Like if I showed somebody doing, I was drawing that sideways motorcycle going up the side of the page, right? Like in Super 8. Everyone would be like, oh, that looks like Super 8. Oh, that actually looks really dumb. You shouldn't do that, right? And it's like, that doesn't, don't do that. Don't tell me it looks dumb when I'm doing experiments, right? Don't do that. I'll find you. Not that that's ever really happened, but some people do that. Some people just like to rain on your parade. Some people like to mess with you. So yeah, you gotta not let that stuff bug you. I remember, in fact, one of these Thoughtful Thursdays, I want to do one specifically on taking and giving feedback, because I think that's a big thing. It's a huge thing that comes into your lap when you go into the industry, is people start telling you what to do, and you got to listen to them, right? So, but there's also good times when you need to kind of stand your ground, and you got to defend your turf, right? So that sounded really cheesy, but because there's times where you got to stand your ground, you got to plant your flag and be like, no, this is my vision. This is my vision, and you're going to see it, and I'm going to show you. Right? You're going to sit down and shut up until I'm done. Sometimes you got to do that. Not all the time, but sometimes. So anyway. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. I don't know if his cheekbone will be sticking out outside of the strap of his thing. In fact, that's kind of a weird tangent, having the strap of the helmet go right even with the side of the thing. I'm probably going to do this. I'm probably going to have it go off to the side like that. Just having the mask go down like that. And yeah, we'll do something like that. Yes! Oh, it looks great. Oh, it looks awesome. It looks so awesome. All right, put a little bit of shading in there. Yes. All right, so this is looking really good. Really good. Really good. Everything seems to be just falling in line. Everything's falling in line, and I like it when that happens. I like when everything falls in line. Peas in a pod. Okay, so I could draw the rest of Emma's hair, but I think it's just going to be covered up by these upside down zombies, so I don't need to worry too much about that. But yeah, you can see very quickly how we've gone from this, right, the beginning, and now I've just gone over it again, and now I'm refining the sketch, right? Still not worrying too much about being super clean, right? Don't worry too much about being super clean. You can draw all kinds of, you know, just like guidelines through the face and all that stuff. And you'll notice in Tank's case, I actually didn't draw any guidelines. I didn't do, okay, well, here's his head, right, over here. Oh, wait. I wasn't like, okay, so here's his head, and here's all the guidelines, make sure all that works. Because, to be honest, it's like, you don't need to worry too much, A, when you're drawing a mask over somebody, and B, when it's that close of a shot, you don't need to worry too much about it, right? Because all we're looking at is just his eye, right, and then the mask. But actually his eye, now that I say that, his eye actually does look a little big. I want to shrink that down. But yeah, usually you can spot problems when you can spot problems without having to have the exact measurements. That, and I believe that, oh jeez, I selected the wrong layer. That, and I believe that, I don't know, I usually like to be a little bit more careful with the measurements of girl characters, because I don't know, I just feel like it's not necessarily more important, but a small difference goes a long way, right, with a girl character. Whereas with a guy, I don't know, I just feel like, to be honest, I feel like just drawing guys is easier for me, so I just feel like I just slap it down and it works, right? But with girls, really try to make sure that everything's just lining up just nicely, right? Especially for Emma. Emma, I really want to make sure that I'm capturing her likeness each time properly, in the proper manner. So yeah. Okay, that looks really good. Really good. Okay. So, how are you guys doing over there? Are you hanging in there? We've been going for about 35 minutes. I'm going to go for about another 10. In the meantime, I would invite you to cast your questions over the castle walls via catapult, and I'll catch them and send them back to you on a bed of rice. Then we're going to end today's show, and I'm going to go enjoy a hearty supper of shish kebabs. Oh my gosh. Like, as I walked down into the kitchen, like right before I started the show, and my pops and my stepmom were down there putting together these shish kebabs, and I was like, oh, this looks so good. I was like, don't cook them right now because they're going to be cold by the time 9 o'clock rolls around. So save some for me. I'll just cook them. And they were really, really nice to offer that to me. So, yeah, my parents and my stepmom, my what would you even call that? My parent, step-parent, together make an amazing team. And they're awesome. Love them. Love them! Okay, so let's go ahead and just throw this in here. All right. Shish kebabs. Now I can't stop thinking about you. Can't stop thinking about you. People are like, the ladies must be perfect. They must be perfect. What is this? Doomscully says, I find it much more easier to draw females than men. Lucky you. Lucky you, because that is a skill that does not come to most people. Most people draw some pretty scary looking girls. In fact, some of you might even think Emma looks really scary, but in the world of anime, maybe she's pretty cute. I don't know. And if you guys like the more realistic one, I have done that more realistic version of Emma, which is actually very fun, and people have said they want to see one of those of Nico. And I would concur. I must draw a realistic painting of Nico in the near future. Alright, so that's looking good. Let's go ahead and move on, and let's make sure we got these hills in proper order, right? Because the hills are going to come right up like this. They're going to basically cut off our characters. And we don't need to worry about that. Yeah. I'm a little bit leery of starting the motorcycles because I don't know what the heck I'm going to do with those. I'm probably going to show you guys via time-lapse when we catch up on this tomorrow how I go about drawing this. But for now, I can start throwing in some basic perspective lines, right? So I can make sure at least the shapes are in place, right? And that those shapes just so happen to be the ellipses. The ellipses of the tires. Let's go ahead and start with those. I really just like the shapes. Like, I love it when I sketch with the chalk brush and it just throws down the perfect shape, the perfect silhouette, and I can just see the final drawing in it, right? Like, just looking at this, right? Looking at that motorcycle, just the shapes are all there, and it's just like, I can see it, right? I can see the final thing, even though it's just a few simple strokes laid down. So I love it when that happens. Love it. It's one of my favorite things in the world. Although I'm not quite sure about what design this thing is going to be, right? Because it's like, here's the tire, and you got this little wheelie bit here that like holds it, and then you got the seat, and there's just all this stuff that happens in here, right? The tubes, the exhaust pipe, and all that. Like, this is why I'm going to need some reference, right? And luckily, my dad actually does own a motorbike. So I can get the general idea of the composition of a bike if I were to draw it detailed here, right? It's also going to come in pretty handy when I do this front tire right here. It's going to come in really handy. Because I want to draw just the edge of it, like the rim, and then the spokes kind of connecting to it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But that, again, is going to have to come with some reference. So for now, I think I might just show that in the time-lapse tomorrow. In the meantime, let's take some questions. Let's take some questions. People saying, oh, Doomscully is saying she is a very cute character, by the way. So thank you. Thank you, Doomscully. Appreciate that. Oh, Mark Dotea. I hope I said that name right. I'm just going to call you Mark. He's asking what some of my favorite artists are. And I was actually just thinking about doing this. I want to take a day, maybe a Thoughtful Thursday, because one of my awesome helpers, the forum guy, right? The guy who basically created the forum from the ground up. His name is Brian Hogan. He started a... Oh, no, wait. Brian Hogan created the forum, and then on the forum, an amazing person by the name of Ozzy Burke, right, Pickled Child on the forum, started something called We All Started Somewhere, right, where we post our early works. And this kind of got me thinking about, oh, you know what, I should probably talk about some of the artists that I really looked up to when I was, you know, wanting to get into the industry. And then when I got into the industry, I was literally working right next to them, right, and be like, what, how the heck did I, like, you were way up here, and then somehow, like, I caught up to you, you know? Not saying that, like, I'm just as good as you or whatever. I still had a lot to learn from them, but, like, we were in the same place, right? We're in the same place. And I thought that was really cool. So, yeah, that's definitely something that I want to go into with my favorite artists. However, I don't want to just go off and start naming them right now because I'd rather have a complete list of all that good stuff. So I will do that, Mark. I will be letting you guys know. But yeah, I just want to make sure it's a good list and things that you can check out yourself. All right. All righty. Captain Big Butt says Emma has Button's nose. I like that. Yeah, it is kind of funny. It is kind of funny, right? Just like, I was actually drawing a picture of Emma. Oh, I think I showed you guys in that beginning time lapse. Let me see if I can pull that up. Hang on, I'm gonna pull that up really quick. Cause I was like, she has like a nose of a, she has like a button nose or like a, I don't know. It looks like she has a cat nose. And if you wanted to make her into like a lion or something, you know, from like Lion King, you could do that pretty easily. Where the heck is it? Videos. Vidjas! Okay. Let's see. Time lapse. Here we go. This one here. Check this out. Okay, so right here, I was like, huh, look at that. And then I think I drew the nose. When did I draw the nose? And I'm going to take another question. Oh, right there. See? I drew that nose and then I drew the things and I even gave her some ears there. Gave her some ears there. Can you zoom up again? Yeah, so those are ears and she's now a lion or a panda, whatever the heck that thing is. All right. La Amigo is asking a great question. He's asking, is it important to learn 3D drawing? And I'm assuming you're talking about perspective. I think it's a really, really important thing to learn, and I'm still learning it, specifically drawing like dynamic poses with like fists coming at you and drawing all these comic book sketches and stuff like that. It's really handy to learn how to draw in 3D, right, with perspective, foreshortening, and all that stuff. However, it's a very, very big world. However, I do know some good tricks, and I have divulged some of those to you already with drawing vehicles, drawing perspective, and I'm still learning a lot about that stuff in general. But yes, I would say it is a very, very important thing to do. All right, guys, I'm going to take a few more questions, 2 more, and then we're done. Whoa, we got a lot of things coming in here. Two questions coming in from Toothpaste. 1, do you still play League? No, I don't play it as much. Play it every now and then just to stay up to date, you know, because I'm doing contract work for Ride on the side, but I don't play it as much as I used to. And second question is, how long do you think the comic will be? That's a good question. To be honest, I could think of things to keep this comic going indefinitely, right? I could just go and go and go and go. I do plan on having this comic being at least like 300 pages long, right? So 10 issues, right? 10 full issues would be a great start. I think that would be a great start. But I think that we could go way past that too. So, but for now, I'd say a good goal is probably about 300 pages. So, last question coming in. Let's see what we have here. Man, we got a ton of questions. All right, guys, what I'm going to do with the rest of these questions that I can't answer is I'm going to answer them tomorrow. So don't worry, you'll get your chance. All right, last question is coming in from Not Really Evil. He's asking, Keenan, is it easier for you to draw when you turn your brain off, or are you just stuck in your head? That's a great question. That's a really good question. A lot of times you've heard me talk about the force of the artist and how when you're doing creative work, the harder you think about it, or like the more mental effort you put into something creative, the worse it's going to turn out, right? In fact, the best way to go about creating something is to actually sort of turn your brain off and stop trying, stop thinking so hard about it, and just get to it, right? Let things flow naturally. Just for example, I talk about free drawing, right, where you just kind of go and go and go. That's basically what I was doing here, right? When I had no idea what I was going to do for the comic, or for the comic book cover. I literally just opened Photoshop and I started just drawing a bunch of stupid stuff. Like, you can tell, it's like I'm not trying hard. I'm not trying to make it look nice. I'm just having fun and just drawing whatever I want. And I think this is a really good way to just kind of get the juices flowing, get into that, get rid of this whole mentality of, oh, whatever I put onto this paper must be perfect, right? And it must be ready to show somebody and they'll be like, whoa, you're so good, right? Just get rid of that. Extinguish that thought from your mind completely. And really, yeah, just get into this idea of, I must let my talent naturally show itself, right? I must let my talent and my skill naturally express itself. And this goes into writing too, because I'm coming up with ideas for the side comic, right? That's going to be coming out with the digital edition of issue 2. And one of the coolest things that I like to do with free writing, and I do this for the comic as well, is I'll sit down for 10 minutes and I'll set a timer on my clock or on my phone, and I'll just write every single thing that comes to my mind. And the important thing here is that you don't stop, right? So if you think about camels, or you think about a cannon mounted on a donkey's back, which is actually a really good idea, you just write that down, right? You just write down everything that comes to your mind. And eventually what's going to happen is your mind will empty itself and it's going to run out of things to think, right? And that is when the magic comes out, right? Because your mind doesn't like to be empty, right? It's naturally just going to come up with something. It's just going to create something completely new, original, and unique, crazy off the wall. And this is brainstorming, right? This is what brainstorming is all about. And I think that, did I do a tutorial on this, or did I do a Thoughtful Thursday on this? I really hope I did. But yes, I believe, to sum it all up, when you're working on something creative, the best thing that you can do is shut your brain off. Stop thinking about it. Have a goal in mind when you start it, right? But then when you're actually in the work, let your talent, let your skill flow out naturally, right? And take breaks, right? The biggest thing that I'm doing now, and I'm now rambling. I don't want to talk too much about this. Let's get some epic outro music. But yeah, a big thing that I was talking about is take proper breaks. Because what's really nice and what really refreshes your mind is working for a set amount of time. I usually go for about 30 minutes, right? And then I'll take a break for 15 minutes. Sometimes I'll go for another 30 minutes where I'll just take a break and go do something else. And just having that change of changing from one thing to the next, you're constantly just in this fresh state of mind. And it really does wonders. And I really want to go into detail on that at a later date. However, I'm talking way too much. I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining me today. And yeah, you guys have a great evening. Thank you once again for joining me live on Ustream, helping me pick out the comic that's going to be on issue 2. I'm so happy to have you guys along on this journey and have you guys helping out and changing the fate of the comic as you watch it. And yeah, you guys have a good evening once again. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Later.